My name is Prabhat Sethi, and today I am here to prove to you why the novel Frankenstein, written by Mary Shelley, is an example of great literature and why it should be considered for the FM Literary Prize. The novel began with Robert Walton sailing to the North Pole and then stumbling upon a man named Victor Frankenstein, who was a scientist. Victor, then aboarding the ship, recounts the story of his life to Walton. He talks about his family life and how he used his interest in science to discover how to create a life in a being. Learning this, he then conjures up his own creation, but then is horrified by the outcome and decides to abandon it. The monster feels lonely, abandoned, and isolated by society that he becomes enraged. Victor then suffers the consequences of his action when the creation seeks revenge for the abandonment. As Shelley's novel unfolds, Victor ends up losing various family members, as well as loved ones, such as family friends, who are killed by his creation. Telling his story, Victor then dies on the ship after chasing the monster to seek revenge for what he did to his family. Frankenstein should be considered for the FM Literary Prize because of 1. Positive critical commentary that was made about the Gothical novel Frankenstein, written by Mary Shelley. Another reason it should be considered is due to the universal truth that is very consistent throughout the novel. Mary Shelley displays the universal truth throughout the novel, which states we must be accountable for our own actions. The last reason is that it provides a relatable connection towards the reader and the novel with my unique reasoning. I first begin with the critical commentary. The first reason why this novel is an excellent example of great literature is because of the critical commentary provided about it. One of the many critical commentaries made was from Lunford, who comments on the actions of Victor Frankenstein, stating, "Perhaps if Victor had valued the life he created and helped the monster at its critical moment, he would have prevented most, if not all, of the devastation that follows." Lunford discusses the way the novel is written by Mary Shelley with regards to the value of life and how Victor's desire of higher place in society motivated him to create the monster. Frankenstein not only looks at how he will benefit from the monster, which then leads to a chain reaction of consequences he has to face because of his own actions. This element of the novel helps to display it as being a successful piece of literature due to how Shelley wrote it. She was able to manipulate and effectively use her characters to portray a character versus society theme that helps the novel progress in a distinct way. The next thing I will be looking at is the universal truth. The second reason why this novel is a good example is because of the universal truth that is seen throughout the novel. The truth portrayed is that we must remain accountable for our own actions. An example of this universal truth would be when Victor Frankenstein talks about the consequences of his own actions. For my own benefit, to inflict this curse upon everlasting generations, I have before been moved by the being I created, but now stuck senseless. Here, Victor talks about how because of his own idea in creating this monster, he has now had not only a negative effect on himself, but generations beyond him, due to his actions. This universal truth being present in the Frankenstein enhances the body of literature because of the overall message that it is able to provide the reader with. The novel itself is able to provide an effective and constant universal truth that the readers are able to follow along with throughout the book as well as easily understand. The last thing I will talk about is the unique reasoning of my own. The last reason I think that this novel is a great body of literature is because of the realistic connection that the readers can make towards the novel. An example of this would be how the monster is treated throughout the book due to the way that society treats him because of how he looks. My life has been harmless and in some degree beneficial, but a fatal prejudice clouds their eyes. Where they ought to see a kind friend, they behold a monster. In this part of the novel, the monster talks about how society and people in it treat him because of how he is different from everybody else. Mary Shelley, addressing such a well-known issue in the novel, provides a personal connection for many of its readers in their daily lives. The message about how society treats individuals differently because of certain aspects of them is really relatable. People are constantly judged on gender, religion, looks, and many other aspects by society, and I feel that being able to apply this to a Gothic novel such as Frankenstein really makes it a complex and very distinctive piece of literature. Overall, Frankenstein is a great piece of literature when looking at the positive critical commentaries based on the novel, the universal truth that is constantly seen throughout the novel, as well as the realistic connection that the readers can make towards it. Many authors during the century that she lived in weren't daring enough to write such a thought-provoking story, and being able to write literature that challenges the view of society was very bold. Thank you.